Maybe we'll give it another 30 seconds or so, and then we'll get started. Okay, it looks like we've slowed down on participants joining, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Amplify's vendor session that we're leading around all the different professional development options that we have available, both for our core programs for K through 5th grade, as well as our middle school program for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. I'm going to save some time at the end, so hopefully we can get questions answered then. If you have questions along the way, also feel free to just come off of mute. We're a small group. I'm happy to stop and answer along the way as well, if that makes sense for you during that specific time. So we're going to get started. Thanks for joining. I'm really excited to be able to spend a little bit of time with you today talking all about the great things at Amplify that we can do to help support the work that you all are doing in your schools and districts with our Amplify programs. My name is Jamie Klistic. I work with Amplify on our K-8 ELA professional development partnership team. What that really means is that I'm working with a team of folks that support our K-5 initiatives, as well as our middle school 6-8 ELA initiatives across the country. We've been doing a lot of work, obviously, with all of you across the great state of Texas for the past few years now, and we're excited to continue to expand our footprint there and hopefully get into some schools to support teachers and leaders in the great work that's happening now. Very quickly, a little bit about myself. I reside in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So it's cold up here. We had frost on the ground this morning, which is I'm not okay with, but it's happening. But before joining Amplify 3.5 years ago, my most recent role, I was a director of curriculum and instruction and assessment and rolled out one of Amplify's K-5 programs across my district. So I've had the fortune of doing that as a district leader, and now on the other side of things with Amplify, being able to help support teachers and leaders and districts with that same implementation, adoptions, and lots of moments for change. So I'm really happy to be here with you. It is an honor in the work that I get to do to support schools and districts and teachers and leaders across the country. So let's get started. We're going to focus the first part of our time together talking a little bit about what type of sessions that we offer. Amplify has a suite of professional development sessions, starting with sort of a 3-tiered approach. You'll see that we have foundation sessions, we have strengthening sessions, and we also have coaching sessions, all professional learning opportunities geared for both teachers and leaders. Our foundation sessions are meant to be an introduction. They're meant to get you started. They're meant to get you ready to be able to successfully implement in your classrooms. We have foundation sessions that are geared towards teachers. So our K-2 teachers, our 3-5 teachers, and our middle school 6-8 teachers, as well as our K-5 leaders and our 6-8 leaders. Our foundation sessions are really designed to really implement and enforce the program's foundations, what Amplify is all about as a core English language arts and Spanish language arts program, K-5, and then also for our middle school teachers and for English language arts. On the strengthening side of things, these sessions typically happen after initial training. So after you've had some sort of foundation, some sort of getting started moment, that way teachers have had that foundation in order to move on to now I'm going to deeper dive into the program. There's a variety of different strengthening sessions that we offer, and I'm going to go into a little bit about each one of them during our time together today. But they really are meant to help teachers deepen understanding of the program. We want teachers to walk away from these sessions having just right fit in the moment, things that they can take back and immediately implement in their classrooms. So lots of different things that we'll talk about today on the strengthening side of things. And then the last thing that we'll talk about today is on the coaching side of things. Amplify has certified coaches that we use to support teaching and learning in your schools. I think in the past 1.5 years, we have learned how to do coaching really well remotely. And we also are really excited to be back in schools this year doing on-site coaching as well. So just know that as we're talking about all the different sessions today, foundation, strengthening, and coaching, when I'm talking about them sort of synonymously on both remote options and also on-site options. Specifically to coaching, we'll dig into it a little bit further when we get there. But a lot of different options of what coaching can look like. Coaching really is meant to be based off of what you need. So what your teachers need, what your school or campus needs, what the district needs. It's highly customizable based off of those needs. So I'm excited to talk to you a little bit more about the coaching options that we offer across both of our K-5 and 6-8 core programs. All right, so we're going to spend a little bit of time just talking about that foundation because I think it's important for all of you to hear what we really root and ground our initial trainings in. So you'll see here that we've got a variety of different things. We've got initial trainings for our K2 and 3-5 teachers. It's split that way based off of the strands. So we know in K2, we've got the 2-strand approach, and in 3-5, we have that integrated strand. So it is really important for us to make sure that when we're thinking about initial training, that we are thinking about training up teachers in those grade bands because of the differences between the K2 and 3-5 program. I will also mention that, you know, we sometimes do them in grade bands. So we do all K2 teachers together and all 3-5 teachers together. We also can do grade specific sessions if that makes the most sense for your campus or district too. Same thing for middle school. So for our 6-8 teachers, we are focused on, you know, a day of initial training, making sure that teachers have what they need in order to fully implement and be successful within the program. I think it's really important for us just to name that, you know, minus initial training, I think our Amplify programs are super robust and have a lot for teachers and leaders to understand. And so our initial training is really meant for teachers to leave that day being fully ready to implement and feeling successful around the instruction that's going to come through as they get started with the program. I think the same thing would be said around training for leaders. I think before we start thinking about training for teachers, my team really loves to talk about, like, what does this mean for leaders? This is a shift for leaders. Sometimes it is also making sure that our campus leaders and district leaders are true instructional leaders in change as well. And so making sure that our leaders have an understanding of what this looks like and how to support teachers in that instruction and some of the shifts in core instruction that might be happening with utilizing of our Amplify programs. So our leader sessions are half-day sessions for K-5 and also for 6-8. And then I also added in here something new. So this is going to be available in January. So we have heard a lot of feedback already from many folks across the state that will be gearing up for some pilots in this coming spring. And so we have created a getting started package for that is really geared for pilots. It is not meant to take the place of an initial training if you're fully rolling out Amplify K-5 or 6-8, but it's really meant for if you are engaging in some work and you're piloting a unit. Here's what we can do in order to make sure that 1, you're successful within that pilot, and then 2, also to have some follow-up, some touch points throughout that pilot. I think one of the things, and we'll get to it when we talk about strengthening, is that you know, across all of our products, especially our core instructional products, initial training is vital to get started, but we also know that there's a lot of things that need to happen after initial training in order to make sure that teachers and leaders have what they need. So that follow-ups for the getting started, we are providing up to 2 60-minute follow-ups after that 90-minute for that pilot geared PD that we're offering as a foundational session option currently as well. So I'll pause there for a moment, make sure that I'm not missing anything in chat. I know Brooke's on too from Amplify, so Brooke, feel free to interject if there's something that I can reiterate on or add on before we move into some strengthening options. Okay, I'm going to keep on moving then. So let's talk a little bit about strengthening. So strengthening to Amplify is really making sure that teachers have an opportunity to continue to dive into practice, continue to dive into implementation, continue to feel that they are gaining some additional professional learning that is only going to help improve teaching and learning in their classrooms. So you'll see here, I've got a scattering of different options that are available for all of you, specific to our Texas core programs for both K2, 3-5, and 6-8. And again, just as reminders, we really separate K2 and 3-5 for teacher PD just because of the design of the program. It makes the most sense for our K2 teachers to have a super focused on that 2-strand approach, and our 3-5 teachers that integrated approach. So we have a session for K2 and 3-5 that's around enhancing planning and practice. And so the great thing about this session is it's really like a 2-for-1. So you have 2 options for this session. The session can either focus really heavily on the planning side of things. We have established some planning protocols around unit planning, our domain planning for our knowledge strand, and then obviously the integrated units, and really with the idea of a backwards design approach, as well as some great planning templates and protocols for all of those things, unit and domain planning. We also, during that enhancing planning session, focus on lesson internalization. The goal is for teachers to, one, be able to spend some time understanding what is best practice in terms of backward design planning with utilizing Amplify, but also being able to look at the individual lesson level, to be able to internalize the lesson, to be able to understand where you're going from day to day after you've understood that backwards design, that big picture planning side of it, and really to be planned up for something that an upcoming unit, upcoming lessons, and to really help teachers start to think thoughtfully around prioritizing lessons as well. So that's the planning side of it. The other side of that would be another 3-hour session. That would be the enhancing practice side of that. That enhancing practice side of things is really critical in terms of helping teachers dive into components, lesson segments, specific practices and routine that they should be starting to see more and more of as they get into their daily lessons with Amplify. So in a K2 classroom, we do chaining for reading and spelling. There's blending and segmenting routines and practices. We use spelling trees, tricky words. All of these are routines and practices that are unique and special about Amplify. And that's where we focus during that time to really help make sure that teachers understand what that looks like, what that sounds like, how do I plan for those, how do I execute that, what should students be doing during that time, and what should me, the teacher, be doing in order to execute that lesson properly, or that specific part of the lesson properly. On the 3-5 side of things, same thing. There's a lot of routines and practices that are unique and special that happen daily for teachers and students in the 3-5 integrated strand. So we spend some time doing that in both K2 and 3-5. The other thing in terms of practice is we really want to make sure that teachers understand the importance of all the components and segments that they are seeing on a day-to-day basis in their daily lessons. So we spend a lot of time also thinking about, how do I prioritize questions? How do I increase engagement? What types of discussion techniques do I add in order to make sure to support students in need of additional support, to scaffold instruction, and also to challenge for our students who are needing that additional push on the other end of the spectrum. So you've got 2 really robust options there in enhancing planning and practice, one on the planning side, one on the practice side. I would also mention all the strengthening sessions that we have to offer are half-day sessions. So half days to us mean about 3 hours worth of professional learning. For K2 and 3-5, we also have a writing session. The writing, as hopefully that you're starting to see and learn about within Amplify, is an integrated approach, meaning that we don't have a separate 30-minute block for writing. Writing is happening across all times of instruction, and writing is varied. Writing looks different. It is not just a mode specific or genre prompt. Writing comes through in a lot of different forms, both K2 in skills and knowledge, and 3-5 in the integrated strand. So the opportunity and the experience for teachers in this strengthening session is to, one, help them sort of understand what it means to have an integrated approach to writing, and then also what it looks like within their day-to-day instruction. So we do a lot of mapping out and scoping out what writing looks like within grades, across grade levels, So that way teachers know what they're responsible for their individual grade level in terms of writing instruction and how things are building as students move throughout the other grades. So a lot of planning happens there for writing, a lot of alignment around what writing looks like, and a lot of opportunities for teachers to really dig into what integrated writing is all about within our Amplify K-5 program. I think on the other side of that, for our middle school teachers, we also have an enhancing planning and practice session that is very similar to the design of what we did for K2 and 3-5. Teachers are going to be spending time unpacking standards, doing some work with assessments, continuing to focus on student engagement, all within the middle school program. And that is a half-day session as well. I think the one factor there is that, you know, our ideas are, we want teachers to leave that middle school session having really clear, crystal clear ideas around what the importance of the learning outcomes within daily lessons, assessments, and then a lot of instructional strategies that are embedded within that middle school program. We also have another session that is called analytic reading. And this session is really helping teachers understand how close reading functions within our middle school program. It allows teachers to engage in ways of how to encourage and scaffold instruction with tackling complex texts. We also go through some key reading routines, really focused on academic discourse, and then collaboration that teachers are using during those close reading opportunities that are really embedded and are really alive and well in our middle school program. And then the last session for strengthening for middle school is our data-informed instruction for our middle school teachers. This session is really important because on the middle school side of things, there is a lot of data that is at the teacher's fingertips, data that they have available digitally through their classwork app and through some reporting apps. And so we really want teachers, one, to know where that is, what that means to them, how that data can be used to guide day-to-day core grade level instruction, and how you can use that data also to support students through scaffolds and supports for additional specific needs. So it is really targeted around understanding data, understanding the platform, and understanding how to use that to guide instruction on a day-to-day basis with the really rich and robust data that teachers get from our middle school platform. Like asterisk here, these are all available on-site half-day sessions, remote sessions. You can stack half-day sessions, so meaning you can do a morning and an afternoon, an AM and a PM, or it can be a singular half-day session, whatever works best for your needs as well. So I'm going to pause there before we move into the next factor of coaching. Okay. So I mentioned earlier that we have a great option of on-site and remote coaching sessions that we have certified Amplify coaches. So we've got coaches at the K-5 level for our K-5 core program. So for the Amplify Elementary Literacy Texas program, and then the Amplify Texas ELAR for our middle school. So coaching is really meant to be whatever it is that you need. So some things that we can do when we frequent and do some on-site coaching visits. We are in classrooms providing, non-evaluative observation and feedback, debriefing with teachers and leaders. We are potentially doing some model lessons. A lot of times when we get on site, teachers and leaders are like, we really need to see somebody do a chaining for reading lesson. Like, we would love for teachers to be able to see that and to be able to sort of talk through that. Sometimes teachers just need that validation of like, oh yeah, like I do that. Like I've got that down pat, or wow, I never thought about it this way. Let me tweak this and try this the next time I have that specific lesson. So modeling is something that we do with on-site coaching. Co-teaching, a lot of times it's a shoulder-to-shoulder co-teach moment where one of our coaches is working collaboratively, co-teaching with a teacher in a classroom. Grade level team meetings or PLC meetings. Sometimes it's a opportunity for us to have some really sort of bite-sized, short, quick 45-minute meets with grade level teams to be able to either think about the next coming unit, to be able to have some question and answer time, to be able to plan accordingly. but that all in that collaborative spirit. So I'll mention this again, because I think it's just really important to note that these are all things that can be done during on-site coaching. These are all things that also can be done during remotely. The modeling thing and the co-teaching side of things is a little bit trickier, but we did it when we've done it. But I will tell you that, to be able to have an Amplify coach come on site and to be able to provide that additional support really helps get to that next level of implementation, and is completely customized based off of whatever your needs are, whether it be individual campus or district needs and or at the teacher level. So we have a lot of options there, and it is really meant to meet your needs. I think the other thing just to mention in terms of coaching is that once when we are on site or when we are doing this remotely, we also are collecting some data to be able to report back some next steps, data to be able to support grows and glows, data to be able to leave you with some actionables from our on-site coaching sessions as well. So really great opportunities that always come out of coaching sessions, and a lot of great learning that always comes out. And it's amazing for us to get to be on site in classrooms and seeing the great work that's happening with programs as well, improving teaching and learning in lots of different ways. So I'm going to pause there because I feel like that's a lot of talking and that's a lot of things that I'm throwing at you. And let me check to see in the chat if there's things coming in that I can address before we continue to move on. Yep. So I'm going to get to pricing options, and I actually have a one-pager that I'm going to share out with you. I have a link that includes all of this sort of in hopefully one clean, nice place that you can take with you, download, and share with others if that's helpful too. So I think before we open up some Q&A, and I'm going to share some things here, I want to share a couple things. We have a lot of different resources for you. And I think as you're starting to think about what this means and support that would be helpful for you, I wanted just to share that we do have a really robust help center. So if you're implementing any of our programs, and if you haven't seen this site yet, this is our help center that will anything Amplify Texas that you can imagine, you can find there across all of our core programs, as well as our assessment and supplementals. So that is a great resource, and that is a great something to bookmark if you are continuing to support the work that's happening within the Amplify programs in schools and districts. The other thing is what I had mentioned. So this is a one-pager. It's a front and back of our K-5 and 6-8 professional development options that I shared with all of you today. So it explains exactly all of our foundation strengthening and coaching sessions. It also gives you some additional information around pricing. I'll share with you here while you're opening that up. Our full day on-site sessions are $3,200. Our half day on-site sessions are $2,500. And then our remote full day sessions are $1,200, and half day is $750. And that getting started package for our spring pilots with that 90-minute remote intro, and then those 2 60-minute follow-ups, that is $1,000. And all the pricing is on that second page of the back of that one pager that I just shared with you as well. And then the other thing I would mention is that, obviously for some of you, you may be thinking like, well, I need to go back and think about this. I need to also talk with some other folks. And I need to get back in touch with somebody at Amplify. So these 2 emails, if you happen to be part of Crimsy or connected to Crimsy, that is the Crimsy email address. And then we do have a general Texas Amplify email address. These will both connect you with the right people in order to continue these conversations and continue this partnership around what does the professional development and professional learning look like for my campus, for my district, with Amplify. And so I would encourage you that, once we wrap up today, and hopefully you can join the office hour breakout sessions if you have specific questions for me. But you can always get in touch with somebody at Amplify at either one of these email addresses, and we'll connect you with the right folks. This will likely go to the account executives, and then my team works really closely with the account executives to make sure that PD is aligned on and scheduled and is meeting the needs of what the district and or school is looking for. The last thing on there is our 800 number. That's customer support. So anything that you need in terms of quick, in the moment, technical support, instructional support, they're there live 7 to 7. There also is a chat option in that help article that you would have access to as well. So I would encourage you, if you're using and implementing, to be able to reach out to that 800 number. Our customer support team is fantastic and always ready and there to help as well. So I'm going to pause there. It's about 5 to 11. I want to make sure if there's anything outstanding, please come off of mute. I'll peruse the chat again to make sure that I didn't miss anything. But I really want to thank you for spending this quick 25 minutes together. Hopefully the information that I shared with you has been helpful, or at least gives you a starting point to think about what professional learning with Amplify can look like connected to your K-5 core programming and your middle school core program that you have at your campuses, and excited to continue to work with more and more of our partners across the state. So I'll stay on for a few minutes to answer some questions, but otherwise, thank you so much for spending some time with me this morning.